You're on camera. Say something.
Last night and night before, there was 3 women walking down the street that way. I saw them. I said, hey, you 3 women, why are y'all walking down the street that way? There's nothing down there. And they flew away. I said, oh, them was some birds.
I was not very steeped in the comics.
I didn't read any comics or do any research.
I wasn't familiar with the comics. I wasn't familiar with the movies.
We didn't lean into a whole lot of the history of the comic books.
Yeah, candidly, we were not enormous comic fans.
I wasn't super into superhero comics when I was a kid. I read a lot of like indie press stuff.
First thing I was told is don't read the comics.
Really?
As a creator, they put you in a bubble. They don't let you talk about any of the other projects, right?
You know, they're up for anything.
We ultimately decided to redefine it for the series and thought that it worked better for the story that we're trying to tell.
Did you ever read you've never read the comic?
When the DVD comes out, I'm going to read a Thor comic book and just see where we went wrong.
If Cthulhu can be summoned by humans who are so far beneath it, why can't humans be summoned by ants? The answer is they should be. Well, if a bunch of ants formed a circle in my house, I'd certainly notice. Try to figure out where they'd all come from and possibly wreak destruction there. That's why knowing and correctly pronouncing the true name is so important to the ritual. Imagine how impossible it would be to not go take a look if the circle of ants started chanting your name. And they're like, you can't leave because we drew a line made of tiny crystals. Now you have to do us a favor. And you're like, well, let's just see where this goes. Yup, you got me. What's the favor? And usually the favor is like, kill this one ant for us, or give me a pile of sugar. And you're like, okay. And you do, because why not? It isn't hard for you, and boy is this going to be a fucking story to tell, these fucking ants chanting your name and wanting a spoonful of sugar or whatever. And sometimes you get asked for things you can't really do. One of them, she's like, I love this ant, but she won't pay any attention to me. Make me important to her. And you're like, how? So you just kill every ant in the colony except the 2 of them. Ta-da! Problem solved. And the first ant is like, horrified whisper, what have I done? This is the best explanation for higher powers I've ever really heard.
You realize you've stolen Jabba's personal sloop collection? You took our Slurpo! And Jabba needs his Slurpo! And then you go to Jabba's palace? Jabba the Slurpo. Jabba the Slurpo hut. If you steal the Slurpo, then we will give you 14 Slurpos. 13 Slurpos final offer. Wait, is Slurpo a currency or a person? Ever-decreasing Slurpos. Why is she staring at Han Solo? She's who she wants to be, I guess. Please, I'm so close. Why can't I be Han Solo? And not some bland fucking brunette bint.
Oompa loompa doompa-dee-dee.
What do you get when you piss off the Japanese?
Mess with their history, twist it for fun.
Watch as your prophets are now on the run.
Temples defaced, the backlash is loud.
Even the prime minister's part of the crowd.
Stockholders panic, they scream and they wail.
You piss off sinking, abandon the sail.
Oompa loompa doompa-dee-dong.
Say your goodbyes cause your company's gone.
If you are wise, you won't play this game.
Or Japan will ban your name.
By swarming, the damage is great.
Ubisoft begging, but now it's too late.
Paris is frantic, Montreal too.
Lawsuits are flying, investors will sue.
Panic is spreading, no one is spared.
Tokyo's empty, the office is bare.
Oompa loompa doompa-dee-dong.
What What made you think this would not go all wrong?
If you are wise, you won't take the piss.
Or your stocks go down
Like this.
Ubisoft dreams turn into despair.
Job listings vanish into thin air.
Nothing to sell and nothing to buy.
Too bad you offended the samurai. Oompa loompa doompa-dee.
Next time be careful with history.
You might have been saved with a little more thought.
Now look at the mess you've wrought.
Well, I paid for the service, but the screen's gone black. Can't play a thing away to get back. All the folks online are gonna have to wait. Guess I'll step outside and accept my fate. 'Cause it's alright to be disconnected. A lot left that needs to be perfected. Might as well walk and touch some grass. Maybe talk to a gal, have a little laugh. It's alright, unexpected, but it's alright to be disconnected.
What is happening here? What is happening here? What is happening? What's happening here? What's happening? What's happening here? What's happening here?
Could be Trump. Yeah. Trump. Oh yeah. Trump. 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 Could be Trump.
Bang, bang, samurai hero, dodging swords with his outlaw flow. Bang, bang, samurai hero, no respect to show, no fate to bestow. Bang, bang, samurai hero, stealing wheels while the firelights glow. Bang, bang, samurai hero, Yasuke West, just watch him go, watch him go.
From a land across the sea, he came with a dream. Sengoku chaos, but he's got a new scheme. No bow, no blade, just a P226. A samurai, no, he's a gunfighting prick. Honor is dead when the bullets fly. He claims he's a savior, but we all ask why.
On a bicycle, Yasuke the wall riding legend.
Tequila Clan stealing the credits!
Bang, bang, samurai hero, dodging swords with his outlaw flow. Bang, bang, samurai hero, no respect to show, no fate to bestow. Bang, bang, samurai hero, stealing wheels while the firelights glow. Bang, bang, samurai hero, Yasuke West, just watch him go, watch him go.
Tonight, after plunging into the depths of Chilean ruins at the top of mountains, discovering treasures thought lost to time, and fighting his way back to civilization, Josh Berger is the guy with the stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just me. Surprise. Yeah, I'm not even on camera. How about that? How disgraceful, right? How disgraceful. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I appreciate it. I know this was pretty random out of nowhere, but I've been thinking about the Corleo the past couple of days, and I really can't get it out of my head that someone at Kawasaki sat down and sold the entire company on the idea of a robot horse. And I don't hate it. I don't understand where they what the train of thought, really. I don't understand the train of thought that brought us to the place where someone said, "You know what a motorcycle needs? 4 legs. That's what a motorcycle needs." Now, if you don't know about this, this is real. This was revealed at the O.S.A. Future of Mobility Conference. I don't This guy posted video. There it is. There's the video. So obviously we're not going to listen to the audio, but let's take a look at this. You see this? Of course, it's pre-rendered footage. Obviously, it's not the real deal, but yeah. See if we can get in a little closer on that without completely taking over the screen. No? Okay. There we go. Obviously, we'll have to replay it a couple of times, but as you can see, in the pre-rendered footage, it looks pretty dazzling. It looks pretty cool. This is not real, obviously. There's not a man in motocross helmet traveling around on the back of a robot horse. It just looks so... it's just... How many times do you think you could break your neck on this thing? There's so many ways to break your neck. Just your neck. There's so many other things you could break too, but it's like a little tiny aggressive pony. It's like a little tiny aggressive pony, and you're gonna go places on your tiny aggressive pony. And I feel like if they made it a little bit bigger, like if they actually committed to like horse size, that might have been like a little bit more, I don't know, less goofy. But man, this is look at it run. It's just so funny looking. But there'll be like 10,000 of these things in Dubai all over the place. They'll trick them out with everything under the sun. RJ McReady, he is here, and he says, is ready. Yeah, that's right. And he says, an android horse, it better say, nice night for a walk. Hello, Wilbur. When you start it up. Hello, Wilbur. We have the editor-in-chief here stopping by to make sure everything's under control. It's not gotten that crazy yet, but we are observing the majesty of the Kawasaki Corleo. And Ravul Arvida, member of the channel, says, Skynet Recon Scout. You're absolutely right. That is... the U.S. military is looking at this and just drooling, right? Just thinking of all these commandos in the back of these things, like for miles and miles and miles, and just running up on any enemy possible. Elon's looking at it, trying to figure out how to make like the Optimus Centaur version of it so that you can ride your Optimus around, as like an optional horse body you keep in the garage. It's just, it's amazing that we've come this far. It's also hydrogen powered, by the way, if you didn't know that. This is hydrogen powered, so the thing can go very, very long distance on a minimal amount of hydrogen fuel. And naturally, that's not easy to come by. You're not going to stop by 7-Eleven and pick up a hydrogen fuel cell along with a Slurpee. But you do have a good... It's just so goofy looking. Like, where do you... Please tell me the intended place to put cargo is not it's not like the undergroin, right? Like wherever that is on like an animal, but like that under part where like, that you see it there. Please tell me that's not where like the intended cargo space is, right? Where the thing walks around with like a backpack dangling underneath it. I wish I could have been there. I would have probably had the most inappropriate questions to ask about this. They say it's based on a wolf, but the entire world's like, nah, bro, that's a horse. I've never seen a horse move like this, but everyone else is like, nah, that's a horse, bro. For me, I think it'll look pretty cool on Mars. I'm pretty sure that NASA will pick up a few of these to get over on Mars. Given the light gravity of Mars, it'll probably make it even more versatile and agile, capable of traversing the surface. Probably easier than a wheeled craft as well, given just how reminiscent of the surface here as we're looking right here, Mars is. It's not exactly these wide open spaces where you can get a good gallop going. Hold on, bro. I gotta go gallop my Kawasaki. Hi ho, Kawasaki, away! I don't know. This is amazing. This it reminds me of that that Black Mirror episode where they had the crazy dog robots that were hunting everybody down and was acting like a horror movie character, just hunting everybody down. But you have to ask yourself, what color do you want yours to come in, right? You know, because you know you want it, as goofy as it is. You know you want one. You want to go riding around. Like a guy saw Pokemon Ride and said, no, 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 this is a good idea. This right here is a good idea. And they committed. I don't know. I think I'd like it in red, you know, like Char's red. Maybe it'll go 3 times faster, right? You get the Xeon. Oh, get your Xeon tricked out Kawasaki robot horse. Oh, man, that'd be great. Even better, paint it up like that Evangelion horse from that horse anime. Oh, that was great. That was great. But where did that go? There are horses in Evangelion. Do you remember this? Do you remember this? There are horses in Where is it? Okay, here it is. This is this is awesome. I don't remember when I ran across this, but it was quite a while ago. So here you go.
Horses in Evangelion, there are horses. Horses in Evangelion, there's horses.
There's horses.
Horses in Evangelion, there are horses.
Now you know you want your Corleo painted up with that purple, that orange, and that green, obviously.
There are horses in Evangelion. There are horses in Evangelion. There are horses in Evangelion. Horses in Evangelion. There are horses in Evangelion. There are horses in.
I had this on loop for 10 hours once and I forgot. Not really on for 10 hours. It was like 45 minutes. But how long have you ever got through one of those 10-hour things before, huh? Like I've made it pretty far. Like I had the what was it? The 10-hour loop of that Home song where like the black guy keeps looking at the camera and the camera keeps moving around. I can't show it because like Home will definitely get us struck down, even though Evangelion probably will too. But that isn't Evangelion though; it's some parody anime. Anyway, I had that on for like I don't know 4 hours once. That was a trip. I was stuck in my head for weeks. Don't do that to yourself. That's like that time that Dexter got France, the entire country, got French stuck in his mind. You remember that? The omelette du fromage. Remember that? I'm sure I butchered French though. But speaking of endurance trials, you know, the Assassin's Creed news account had a bad time the other day. And when I say had a bad time, I'm not kidding. Like, this goes on for quite a while. I hope you're comfortable. This, look at that. It's still going. It is still going. I think it's still, yep, it is. Look at that. It's not even halfway yet. Yeah. Well, here's the halfway point. All right. This account is having a real bad day. In rapid successive order, as you can see here with their dazzling display of reply guy prowess. And there you have it. A full 46 seconds of the Assassin's Creed news account completely losing its dookie about everybody and their brother in every comment section they could find. I'm not really sure what prompted this. I don't think I really care. I feel like this is more of a cry for help than a defense of Ubisoft. And just kind of demonstrates the kind of pressure these people are under, and it cracks every now and then. But I don't know. I found this pretty amusing that this just kept going and going and going. I don't know what happened, but this guy was very, very upset with the situation that he found himself in, or Assassin's Creed found itself in, I guess, now that it belongs to that unnamed company. But I don't know. You'll have to let me know what you think about this, guys, because I just don't. I can't imagine what happened to precipitate this. And it's just go crying, go crying, go crying. Like I don't want to sound like that guy, but that sounds like one of those accounts that's like not run by somebody who speaks English. Okay, like there's no go crying now. You can go crying, go cry to yourself, go cry about it, cry about it. Gonna cry, gonna poop, gonna pee, gonna come, that kind of thing. None of that. It's just go crying for like 100 different replies. It's such a bizarre thing to just copy and paste for like, I don't know, it looks like 15 minutes straight. This guy went completely total comment reply guy. I don't know what you call it. But anyway, there's that. Apparently that's a bit more thrilling to me than other folks. Now we do have this that's sweeping the nation. Everybody and their brother and then some is very concerned about this. Now, you guys, I can't hear my mic. So if it's screwing up, you're going to have to let me know. All right. Otherwise, I'm out here by myself, kind of stabbing in the dark on this one. So if you hear me fuzz out, you're going to have to let me know. Okay. Because I can't tell. I ain't got nobody here to tell me. So here we go. Because like, again, the trans mafia might break in here and break my mic. So just brace yourself. And anyway, as you can see, there's some questionable jawline structure going on with the new skin for White Queen, Emma Frost. I got them both mixed up in my head. I was going to call her Emma Queen, and that is, I believe, an entirely different character from DC even, like an entirely different multiverse. But anyway, Emma Frost here in one of these skins has been accused of sporting a man jaw. And you can see the comparisons that are made here that the top, of course, is sporting the man jaw, but the bottom is built very female. Now, of course, there's a lot of artist interpretations of Emma Frost over the years. She's been around for at least not 60 years. Has she been around for 60 years? Emma Frost, White Queen, first appearance. Let's see, 1980. So yeah, she's been around for like 45 years. Is that it? Yeah, I think I did math there. Anyway, she's been around for like 45 years now. So it's like there's been quite a few iterations of the character and what her face looks like and, body structure. And of course, lately everybody's a bit loose about that. But so this has been going around accusing this is like Goonergate 3.0 or something. And so this has been going around as evidence accusing, what is this? NetEase. That's right. NetEase of pushing a narrative of like normalizing masculine features on what is presumed to be a feminine body and a female body. And so that's what's going on right now with the Goonergate 3.0, I guess is what this is that, as usual, when a voluptuous character comes up, our usual cast of particularly concerned characters decides to rear their head and let everybody know how they feel about this. It's, for me, I recognize the man jaw, but I don't recognize this as an attempt to brainwash people. It's just another poorly designed skin, in my opinion. Probably takes advantage of like a one-off Emma Frost design. The other accusation was the hairstyle of Emma Frost is meant to emulate this particular performer, I guess, and I'm not exactly sure where that comes from. It seems awfully bizarre that NetEase would pick such a bizarre character from real life to base a fictional character off of when there are so many known designs of Emma Frost to work with from the comics and not pertaining to real life. So again, at a quick glance, you'd even think that this was Dazzler when you get down to like what she's dressed like, because again, Dazzler kind of wears this sort of rock star stuff and is kind of more prone to this style. But Emma Frost is also more I guess more of the they call them the dummy mommies these days, the kids. The kids these days, they're out there calling them the dummy mommies. That's what they call them. And that's this whole outfit that she's sporting here with all kinds of accoutrement and crossing gold and silver, which is always a bit annoying when they do that. But yeah, I don't know about you out there in viewerland, but I personally don't think that this is trying to normalize masculine features on female bodies. It moreover looks like they're just pulling from a crappy Marvel design from the last 10, 15 years. That's just my opinion on it. But yeah, once again, just a topic that not really grabbing anybody out there. All right, that's cool. So, all right, we got the, you might remember this. This is the ye olde PlayStation PSP. How do you find yourself with the PlayStation kind of survey? See, there's a new survey going around. This one, however, is from the ye olde days, and it asks you some pretty sociopathic questions, in my opinion. I think this is more like trying to find like that, the Mindhunter criminals from that Netflix show there, where they were investigating all the serial killers as they were doing their serial killery stuff there. And this is like a questionnaire to determine like who is your local serial killer. They ask some pretty bizarre questions. So my apologies there. I had to take a drink. So the first question they have here, and this is a 1 through 5 chart. This is I don't agree with this is a 1, and a number 5 is that they completely agree. So we'll go through this, all right? So hacking a PSP makes me feel like a rebel. 1, I do not agree at all, or 5, I completely agree. Now, I think this is pretty funny because of the way they worded it. Like, it makes me feel like a rebel. I'm breaking the law. I'm going against what mom and dad would want me to do. I bet Gram would probably cry if she knew I was hacking my PSP. And it's such a bizarre. I'm not sure who did they get like middle schoolers to come up with the questions for this? I don't know, man. We're only in number 1 and it's already. Yeah, right. This is like for the survey from the beginning of I think it was just like right around the time that the Vita was coming out. This is just before the Vita. That this came out. I think the Vita came after the PSP. I don't know. Sony handhelds escaped me. I was a Nintendo kid. My apologies. Yeah, it looks really like, you're gonna do this and then you're gonna go leave the computer lab and go back to go have recess playing Foursquare in elementary school. But here's the next question. We're only to number 2. It says hacking a PSP impresses others. Yeah, I do it to impress chicks. I broke into my PSP because the girl down the street thought it was really cool. I'm totally gonna get her phone number. It's just what? I hack things to impress my schoolmates. I walk in and I tell them this used to be a PSP, now it's a toilet. The target demographic was like, what, 8 to 20-year-olds? I mean, I can't imagine like a college. Yeah, they're probably college guys walking around with PSPs. So yeah, they're probably like 8 years old to what, 30 was the demographic? It just seems like these bizarre questions. The benefits of getting free PSP content outweigh any of the negatives. I guess. I mean, theft, if you're going to do it, the point is that you're going to do theft for a good reason, right? I mean, that's like going to jail for stealing a bag of Lay's potato chips at the 7-Eleven, like If you're gonna do something, do like, Ocean's 11 or 8 or whatever the one without all the women was. And then I hack my PSP to see if I can get away with it. Questions submitted by Lex Luthor, of course. Who else? But I to see if I can get away with it. I also don't use crosswalks. That's right. And I don't lick the back of the envelope. I just hold my thumb on it long enough for the moisture from my finger to transfer. So it's not exactly a tight seal, thus forcing the entire US Postal Service to make sure my mail doesn't spit out of the envelope. It's like, this is the level of malevolence. Just to see if I can get away with it. It's such a bizarre questionnaire. Yeah, like, what are the negatives? What are the negatives? Who are they? Show them to me. It says, how would someone say, but I don't hack it? Because the wording presumes you do. Well, this is the whole thing. It's a questionnaire to try and find your local sociopath. There's no good outcome here. There's no, I use my PSP like I was supposed to. It's just a question of like, how do you abuse this product we sold you? Just so we could build in things to make sure that you can't continue to abuse it. But, well, that's just it, is that like they're trying to trap like sociopaths, right? And at the bottom of it, they're probably like, please include your home address and the times that you're available at this address. No reason. Yeah, exactly. This survey is my Mr. Not a Fed. Yeah, by Mr. Not a Fed. Yep, that's exactly it. So it says it's hacking is a creative and fun way to play with my PSP because the games that it was intended to play are terrible. My PSP, it's my PSP, so I can do whatever I want with it. Yeah, that's probably the most sound logic out of all of these, the least crazy person sounding out of all of these. So I would say, like, I completely agree with that. Like, yeah, okay, sure, it's yours. As long as you don't intend to, like, go out into the world and, like, mass produce hacked PSPs for profit. Sure, man, stick a firecracker to it, throw it in a microwave, and see if you could burn your house down, I guess. That's not financial advice. Just so you know, that's not financial advice. I got to be careful about that. YouTube mistakes some of that stuff for financial advice. That's not financial advice. The next one is, I won't get caught hacking my PSP. It's like, again, back to the sociopath thing. I won't get caught licking the donut at the bakery, right, Ariana Grande? It's just, what is this? Who thinks of these? Like, who sat in their car before going into work like, oh, yep, you know what? There's some guy out there that's proud that he won't get caught. I know it. Did they ask like some kid that worked with, like the daycare office or something like that? Like, what's the scariest thing you could do to a PSP, Jimmy? I don't understand. I use my PSP enough to make hacking worth it. To make hacking worth it. Whatever. I'm too annoyed by this to read it right. So this is another one that's like, I play my Nintendo enough to hack it. What? We're not talking about cheat codes. We're talking about full on break into the code, change permissions, all that stuff. It's such a bizarre question to ask. Yeah, make sure the insurance is paid. Exactly. Do you have your PSP insured? You probably should, according to Sony. Look at this. So, here we go. This is my favorite one out of all of these, okay? It's not the craziest one, but it definitely is the most confounding one. I don't see anything morally wrong with hacking a PSP because I'm the devil and I think of these things. The moral dilemma, friends. The moral dilemma, fellow Romans. The moral dilemma, fellow Earthers, of hacking into a PSP. How could you? How could you break into a PSP? Like, there's there's forcing a president to leave a Minecraft server early, right? Like we saw last year, like taking a shot at him and in dodgeball, right? Like a dodgeball shot at the guy and, forcing him to leave the Minecraft server early. There's that kind of moral dilemma. And then there's, will I hack my PSP? Is that a good thing? Would Jesus want me to hack my PSP? This is like a whole moral oral episode. This is like a Simpsons episode to talk about this. Yeah, it's PSP 1000, PSP 2000, PSP 3000, PSP Go, PSP Street. Yep. All the PSPs, but anything you want to play on it. That's it. That's the only thing there is. And then we've got again, like I'm just beside myself on the morality debate over hacking a PSP. Like, what would my mom think? I've fallen so far. I went to school for engineering. Now I'm hacking PSPs. What happened to me? It's like a whole, you could dedicate like a whole Mad TV episode to people having like moral quandaries over abusing their PSPs. Should I use my PSP to wash the dishes? Oh, wait, we're going to get to that question. Hold on. I like to outsmart the developers and manufacturers of the PSP by hacking it. Once again, another question submitted by Lex Luthor. Perhaps Tony Stark, too, on a drug bender, but, not good old Tony there, but, demon in a bottle, Tony, or demon in a keyboard at this point. But I can do more with a hacked PSP than with an unhacked PSP. Yes, that's true. That's correct. That's the point of hacking it, right? I mean, you wouldn't want to hack into it and diminish its capabilities. That would be kind of defeating the purpose of hacking it, right? I mean, you just take a hammer to it and then you don't have to worry about it working no more. You don't have to go through all the trouble of breaking in and hacking it to disable it. Just whack it with a hammer. Seems easy enough. I can do more. Oh, excuse me. Hacking the PSP is worth the legal and technical risk. Like, all right, just work this one out with me, all right? So the legal risk, we understand that one. What's the technical risk? Is this thing booby-trapped? Is it going to burn down my house if I try to send like a text message through the thing? Well, if I load some improper mini disc into the thing, is it going to like self-destruct? Does it activate something that murders my family? Does it go all like Terminator on my family? Small soldiers? What happens? What is that technical risk? What happens? Is it booby-trapped? I'm worried now. It's like a Temple of Doom in your PSP. One wrong move, you lose a finger. Yeah, what would Jesus do, right? What would Jesus do? Yeah, like what is the technical risk here? What's going to happen? Does it shoot poisonous darts if you try to break into the motherboard? Does it have a motherboard? Dalu says here, Sony doing arson. Yeah, well, again, it's like booby-trapped. A small nuclear device will go off if you try to hack into your PSP. This is the technical risk. Hacking a PSP is a positive technical challenge. This is probably more Tony Stark. Yeah, this is probably more Tony Stark. I broke into the PSP because it's a positive technical challenge. I showed you where all the loopholes and backdoors are inside of your programming. You can jam a Game Boy Advance cartridge in here and it'll play it somehow. This last one is great. I like to push the PSP in directions that the developers didn't intend. That's right, we're going to turn it into a gun. Fully automatic PSP, baby, all right. You're going to use your PSP to do your dishes. That's right, you're going to use it as a sponge. Not that absorbent, but I'll tell you, it'll get the grease off. It'll get the grease off. You're going to use your PSP as a home defense item. That's right. You could toss that sucker like a batarang. It doesn't come back, but it will be fully lodged into whatever you throw it at. That's for sure. This is such bizarre. It's like I half wonder if like the cast of Jackass sat down and came up with the questions for this. Like it is such a bizarre premise to begin with. Like Troy was pointing out here, there's no positive. There's no I am behaving within the boundaries of a respectful consumer here. There's none of that. All of these questions, save for that, like hacking a PSP is a positive technical challenge, are all like, I'm a sociopath that poops in drawers. I'm going to do terrible things to this PSP. You know, it's just what I don't understand what prompted the Sony Corporation to believe that the people who owned PSPs or had come into ownership of PSPs through whatever means they had would go about conducting themselves with this kind of psychology. Like I said, the only thing that's on here that's like remotely redeeming is the positive technical challenge one. Every other one after that is just it's just asking you like, do you strangle kittens when you're not playing your PSP? You know, it's such a bizarre set of questions. You have to ask yourself, like, what marketing team sat down and said, no, yeah, that's great. We'll put that right in the magazine. That's going out. We're going to put that in an email. That's for sure. That's getting the hyperlink. You betcha. You betcha. But it is just only mildly less bizarre than what became of the actual, well, not the actual, but like the current PlayStation survey, because PlayStation wants to know why you are still interested in Baka Nintendo when they're a sweet and cuddly PlayStation Chan, Sony Chan is right here. So here we go. As I continue to butcher other languages and English. All right. Hit like and subscribe if you butcher English too. Anyway, here we are. Yeah, Chris Chan's PSPS stories. You betcha. That's not the only piece of technical equipment in that person's house that has things to say. It's like the Flintstones talking appliances take on an entirely different like meaning when you factor in the existence of serial killers, you know? Like John Wayne Gacy's refrigerator, man, you know? The washing machine that was in the basement that saw all that, right? Man. The Flintstones appliances really opened up the window for exactly. I mean, that would be a really neat one, right? Like there was this post I saw on X a few weeks ago about this guy asking why his dryer was using something like 4 gigabytes of internet a day. And he wasn't sure like what was going on with that. And it's like, oh yeah, no, it's trying to record for like serial killer noises and stuff like that. So that would be a fun like found footage horror movie about all these random appliances having microphones and cameras you don't know about, and them picking up like a murder. And then you find out your house has been low-jacked by all this technology from a manufacturer that accidentally, in the process of spying on you, observed a murder happening in your home. There we go. That's fun. Yeah, LG is a snitch, but Samsung is cool. I don't know. They got that fridge where everything's like touchscreen on front of it. And I have to imagine that like if it's got a camera inside of the fridge, it most likely has one on the outside. I don't know, man. Tricky. We'll have to go back to the ice box. That's the only way to fix it. Clearly, it's the only way to fix it. Anyway, back to this mess. So Sony wants to know why you like Nintendo or why you keep engaging with it. So they ask, what aspects of the Nintendo Switch 2 console, as announced on April 2nd, are you most interested in? Number 1, when docked, up to 4K resolution, support for HDR and VRR, and frame rates of up to 120 FPS. Meanwhile, the human eye only sees it 60 frames per second, but whatever. Who cares? We'll just double it. It'll look really neat, and you'll feel uncomfortable when all those frames are coming at you, but whatever. Are you interested in the Joy-Con, that it has the magnetic attachment and mouse capability? We saw that demonstrated with the wheelchair game. That's Dragon Drift, I think that was. Dragon Drift, I think that was. Dragon Dunk or something. Drag X Dunk, I'm not sure. Anyway, there's something like that, so those work, as demonstrated. How do you like the game chat? You can press that C button for a nominal fee and talk to your friends through a game chat. You also get the face-to-face USB camera so you can see your hairy, sweaty friend freak out as you continue to cream him in Mario Kart World. That's right. That's going to be great. No nightmare-inducing visions coming out of that. And high-definition LCD display. So are you impressed by a nice touch screen that's really bright, I guess? And then over here, they want to know why you might want to buy one of those pesky Nintendo Switch 2s. It says, please select the top 3 motivating factors for you as to why you, a customer of Sony, might be interested in buying a Nintendo product. Is this not coming through as like creepy ex-girlfriend vibes for anybody else? Like this screams like, why do you like Becky? Why do you like Becky? Is it because her butt's big? Do you like Becky's big butt? Is that why you like Becky? You know, and it just feels like it's some creepy ex-girlfriend stuff. Like you're getting texts at 3 a.m. from Sony like, are you thinking about Nintendo right now? Are you thinking about Nintendo's big boobs? Is that what you're doing right now? It's 3 a.m. Why are you thinking about Nintendo's boobs? It's so obsessive. Like the other one accused you of being a sociopath. Now Sony's trying to find out if you're cheating on it or not. Not as much censorship on the Switch. I mean, that's true. But they don't want to know that part. They just want to know, like, do you think this is fancy based on the visual aspects? They don't want to get into like the politics of the platform because they know they lose there, obviously. But it's just such a strange, you know, like, are you cheating on us? Are you seeing Nintendo when you're not playing your PlayStation games? We gave you Astrobot. What more do you want from us? If Nico Para on Switch, yeah. Yeah, Sony is stalking. You're absolutely right. That's what this reads like to me. Like, we want to know, how much time are you spending with Nintendo? Are your clothes on when you're with your Nintendo? Whoops, skipped it. All right, we'll go back here. And it says, what are the 3 motivating factors? And it's, number 1 is to play upgraded and or new exclusive games to keep engaged with the gaming community, to get the Mario Kart World bundle. Woohoo! The new features and accessories are exciting. To upgrade my hardware in general, and I'm a gadget guy, so I buy the newest things. And they're really just kind of grasping in the dark for like, why would you bother with this Nintendo thing? Bleh. When thinking about the Nintendo Direct, do you touch yourself? Think about this. Like, when thinking about the Nintendo Direct, I don't understand who thinks of this stuff. Like, in the Sony, like, marketing gathering, demographic information gathering sector, I don't know who does this, but they obviously need like decaf and a conversation of like, it's okay, man. You're all right. You don't need to like go out here and accuse people of wild and crazy things with like passive aggressive surveys. When thinking about the Nintendo Direct Switch 2 announcements, in what way has your opinion changed, if at all, about the following? And it says, how do you feel about Nintendo? Do you want to have babies with Nintendo, or do you want to kick dirt on Nintendo? How do you feel about PlayStation? Do you want to have babies with PlayStation, or do you want to kick dirt on PlayStation? And then everybody else, whatever. Do you feel like the broader gaming, whoever they are, those Xbox people, you know, it's just the PC gaming market, the mobile gaming market, Xbox, and there's another, right? There's another one out there. Sega, that's right. But, oh wait, no, they don't put out a console, so they're not part of this. It's not a platform to game on. So yeah, it's Xbox, it's PC, and it's the mobile gaming platforms. And, you know, obviously Sony didn't have room to put that on their triple spaced multiple choice questionnaire here. So here we go. And then this was interesting. This one was interesting. I thought that this was funny that Sony is trying to find out if you are okay with scalper proof pre-order prioritization. So listen to how this goes. What do you think about the Switch 2 pre-order approach? Priority registration will be given to registrants who have purchased a Nintendo Switch online membership with a minimum of 12 months paid membership and a minimum of 50 total gameplay hours as of April 2nd, 2024. So this right here is scalper proof, right? This is scalper proofing, rather. It's not totally scalper proof, but it's scalper proofing. And so this makes sure that people who have the liquid cash right now to go out and buy 50 Switch 2s don't go out and do that. They can't do that on the pre-order anyway. They can once it's finally on the market out there hanging out on the Walmart shelf. They can buy as many as the store will allow them. However, on the inverse, this is what Nintendo has kind of stepped forward in doing and trying to, I guess, wall off the scalping market from the pre-order market for the Nintendo Switch 2, is that you have to be playing a Nintendo Switch 2 in order to get in the pre-order slot anyway, or at least a prioritized pre-order slot. And now I want to say that this is good, but on the other end, it stomps out people that have the money, have the drive to go out and get a Nintendo Switch 2 as their first Nintendo Switch platform. So thus, they're not logged in with a Nintendo online account. They don't have that background, so they can't get part of the priority registration for pre-orders. What's not immediately clear about what Sony's asking here is if they want to repeat this. This is, again, them trying to find out if the consumer is cool with, hey, you all right if we make sure that brand new people to the PlayStation walk around? I don't know what they're going to call it, man. Like Ravul Arvita gave us all the optional names they had before. So I don't know what they're going to call it from here, but we'll call it the PSP Walkman. All right, there we go. The PlayStation Walkman. That makes perfect sense. So they haven't said if the Walkman, their handheld, is going to be kind of like pre-order restricted in this manner or not. This is one of the things that I've been kind of looking at, is how this scalper market is going to be dealt with. Because again, these people have the ability to rally together, $5,000-$6,000 and go out and buy a lot of this tech, like right off the shelf, right out of the pre-orders, and then hold them hostage for $200, $300, $400, $500 in some cases, more than the original sticker price, because they have the only ones that are available at this time. Once the market, of course, has had like the rush to get this new product, these people are sitting on 40 or 50 of them, when most of the major retailers end up sold out of them. And so again, Nintendo's trying to take an effort here to make sure that this doesn't happen, and that legitimate customers are interested in getting their one-for-one, I was going to say PSP, brains fried on this, getting their one-for-one Switch 2. As confusing as that sounds. But that's kind of what Sony wants to know. Are you going to be okay with us making sure that new people cannot jump in on the pre-order thing before people who are tried and true fans of, in Nintendo's case, Nintendo's products, or in Sony's case, Sony's products? You're going to see more of this. You're going to see more of the restrictions on pre-orders. You're going to see more restrictions on the stores themselves, saying that, Sony Corporation has reached out and said that we are only allowed to sell for the first 2 weeks one Sony PlayStation Walkman to a customer at a time. We're only allowed to do that, like one per household. Yes, we need to see your ID to verify that. Again, like the ID thing seems extreme, but I'm not sure how else to verify, who's bought this. So you just say, oh, okay, all right, Daryl, you have not bought one from 17 Oakwood Drive, so we'll make sure that one's off the list now, and we'll dispose of this. You feel free to call us in 2 weeks and make sure we've disposed of these records. But I don't really know how to keep this out of because you can't block out a card because they just use a different card. I myself have 2 or 3 different accounts, so I have 2 or 3 different debit cards. It's not going to stop somebody from doing that. So it's just one of those things where you're going to see more aggressive measures to try and do this, especially now that the tariffs have had an effect on the market so far on the Switch coming out, because we've seen delays now with the Switch coming out in order for Nintendo to pretend to be recalculating around these tariffs, like they're some crazy thing you can't do the math on and then work your way back on it. It's one of those things where we're going to continue seeing this attempt to control the market from the consoles as PC becomes more and more powerful. It's just how it is. I think the veracity that we see Nintendo pursuing Pal World at the moment over, that veracity, that aggression, that passion, if you will, is coming from Pal World's available on PC. The Nintendo games are not. Unless there's a deliberate port made of them, they don't come over. And so the situation is that Pal World arguably has a wider reach than Nintendo does. Not that Nintendo has a tiny reach, but Pal World has the ability to reach more players than Nintendo does when Nintendo spends most of its time marketing toward families, whereas Pal World meets that family threshold. In some cases, they are little animals walking around with guns. There is quite a bit of violence in the game. It's one of those things. Kids in the sense of 8 to 14, not your 5-year-olds is what I'm talking about. And so you have that demographic covered. Then you have the people who are nostalgic for Pokemon that are my age in their mid-30s, under and over, that are interested in reliving that through a new platform where you have little critters with guns. And that's how this kind of went down. Yeah, the Mew Mew Pew Pew, as Delau says here, Mew Mew Pew Pew. That's exactly it. I'm reading that backwards on purpose. But yeah, that's exactly how it goes. And that's the Steam Deck. That's what it is right here. Revul Arvita, you wouldn't believe it. Most people responding to this stuff is saying, I'm just going to stick with my Steam Deck. Because believe it or not, the Nintendo games, while they are attractive and very well designed and are most often very cute, easy to explain to your grandma what you're doing, right? These games are not hard to find similar vibes, if you will, through the Steam library. The Steam store has plenty of games that took inspiration from Breath of the Wild, from Tears of the Kingdom, from Mario, from Sonic, from trying to think of it, Splatoon. There's plenty of those on there. So if you're really legitimately invested in Nintendo's style of gameplay, if you will, or visual delivery of being kind of soft and cuddly for most of the titles they put on their platform, not all of them obviously, but most of them, you can find all that on the Steam store. And this is why I thought that, or I still do think that the Nintendo Switch is an attempt to battle the Steam Deck, because the Steam Deck does everything the Switch does, as Spencer pointed out on 01, but way, way, way better and with more options. And of course, as Gabe has built it, it's expandable. So you're going to end up having the Steam Deck 2 come out, or Steam Deck, what do they call those? Omega? It wouldn't be beta, because it wouldn't be alpha either, because the alpha is the beginning. So that wouldn't be Steam Deck Epsilon, something like that will come out, and it'll be that much more powerful than the Steam Deck was, making it even further out of range of the Switch. But the Switch's market is more in the line of the normie that doesn't know what the Steam Deck is. So they like the idea of having this fully portable gameplay device, I guess. I would say handheld, but I think a handheld kind of defeats what these are because they are handheld game devices, absolutely, but they're hell and gone from what I guess they're kind of like a cell phone with joysticks. A smartphone with joysticks. I guess it's kind of hard to like I don't know, like pinpoint what these are anymore because they're not. The Game Boy is not anything comparable to what the Switch is capable of. Because your Game Boy had to have another Game Boy to do two-player stuff on, and that was all of the Game Boys. You couldn't. I don't believe there was any point in the Game Boy's life, even when the Nintendo DS showed up, that it could have two players at once. The control scheme wasn't set up for that, whereas the Switch is right out of the gate. So again, it's very difficult to classify these things as other than like pocket consoles, right? Because that's what the Steam Deck is it's a pocket gaming PC, even though it's not really going to fit in your pocket, but it's kind of intended to be that portable thing. Whereas again, the Steam Deck, the Switch 2 is that again, but bigger. My assumption is it had to get bigger to handle more processing and of course keeping that cool. Because like the heat sinks and things like that inside of these things take up quite a bit of real estate inside of them. So, and that's what it is. Yeah, and that's what it is, a portable Steam OS powered PC, and that's pretty much what that is going to be. You know, the Steam Deck Pi Omicron Pi. You know, that's yeah, well, and that's kind of what Nintendo Delau says here is Nintendo seems to have fans and family street cred. And then that's absolutely right. Because again, like that's how they built their brand. They stayed with the original theme of the Famicom, if you will. They stayed with the original theme of the Famicom to evolve this into oh, it was a poop joke. Okay, sorry. My bad. Spencer is pointing out his poop joke. But anyway, they've evolved their brand around. I mean, even the Wii was introduced like this, around families being able to play this game together, and that's one of the strengths of Nintendo's games and their gimmicks and their consoles is that everybody in the family can operate them with just a little bit of like, this is where you push this button, Grandma, and then Mario jumps. Okay, let's go, and that's kind of been like the strongest point of the Switch, the original Switch, is that it was pretty simplistic in like the threshold of entry. So people getting involved with this device didn't have to really think through how to operate it. And again, Switch 2, same process. Steam Deck, same process. It's pretty simple. Once you understand that it's just a controller cut in half with a big screen in the middle of it, you done. Your brain knows how to do that. It's like riding a bike. You're just riding a bike a little differently this time with your thumbs, I guess, however you want to picture it. But that's what it is that the families will go for the for the Switch 2. I keep getting them confused for the Switch 2 because the Steam Deck is something they A, haven't heard of, and B, they're going to find is like, they're going to see themselves as a like way too much power for their 12-year-old. Like that's a crazy amount of gaming capability for your 12-year-old. And so they're going to see the Switch 2 as like training wheels. And like, all right, Billy, when you're 16 years old, we'll get you the Steam Deck. But for now, we're going to put you on the Switch 2 because that gives us parental controls where the Steam Deck isn't set up with that immediately. And your mom and I don't know how to program a VCR either. So, and that kind of thing, you know, and that's where they'll lean into this kind of thing is that, you know, like Spencer says, the family that doesn't know about this, the mom, the dad, grandma that doesn't know what a Steam Deck is going to love the Nintendo Switch 2 because it's going to have those capabilities that their kids are talking about, their grandkids, whoever they're buying this product for, are talking about. Like, yes, we've got to have more gaming power. We've got to have more HDMIs. I'm trying to grandma this, you know, we've got to have more gaming horsepower. We've got to have more HDMIs in it, Graham. You know, and that kind of thing. And so they see this and Nintendo and they go, oh, yes, Nintendo's safe for kids. And they pick that up for Jimmy, you know, meanwhile, he wanted the Steam Deck. And plenty of Eroge game. I don't know what that is on Steam and portable Gunner device. Well, I don't know if that. Oh, you're the other. No, okay. So like Sorry, I may have revealed my knowledge of degenerate devices there for a second. Anyway, Troy Renlund says, can't play Summertime Saga on the Switch. Huh. Well, there's that one, I guess. But there's also like games like Repo. There's games like that, you know, you can't play on there because Repo is a Steam only game. These funny games that people like, I think Schedule One, that drug, jeez, I am on a roll tonight. That game about selling drugs, Schedule One is only available on Steam. Now, obviously, you don't want your 12-year-old playing Schedule One on a Switch. That would be not great, as it's a game about selling drugs. So, like as you can see right here, it's a game about selling drugs. There's no mistake about it. And you use guns and you're killing people and you're committing. Nah, I wouldn't say so much heinous crimes as just simple, like, you know, murder, selling drugs, outrunning the law, that kind of thing. No genocide, just selling lots and lots of drugs. The fun thing about this, though, is that this is a game that can be played on your Steam Deck. This is a game that can be played on, you know, right, that's what the point I was making. I apologize. Is that the Steam Deck, I got distracted by the drugs, okay? It's just funny to me that this is the most popular game on Steam. Ridiculously, like, look at that, 76,616 reviews on this single game by itself, okay? Just, it's amazing. And it's low graphics, kind of like sound effects are sort of like Unity pre-rendered stuff. It's like a lot of real simplistic presentation here. And it doesn't have a lot of graphics, Jimmy. It doesn't have a lot of graphics. And that seems to really sell it, is that it's getting around as like one of those meme games. So like your usual guys like Terrorizer and Vanoss and Nogla and Wildcat are going out there and having a blast with this game like they did with Repo. And that's, of course, like their hundreds of thousands of views on it are translating to people who want to own the game and play it for themselves. And you have taco ticklers. The taco ticklers. Oh boy. That's probably that's a name of a movie somewhere. I'm sure of it. You know, I one day when I was a teenager, we were playing video games and we switched over to DirecTV there. We looked at the menu. We were scrolling through trying to find something to watch. We got up into Showtime channels and we ran across one of the adult movies that was titled The Women of McDonald's. So when I see taco ticklers, I think to myself, somewhere out there in the world, there's the women of Taco Bell. And I didn't see the women of McDonald's because that was pay-per-view and we were a bunch of teenage boys. We were not prepared to explain to anybody's parents why we had stolen their credit card to watch that, of all things. You know, like, Billy, what did you steal my credit card with the $3 on the back to buy again? Why don't you tell the priest? Well, I stole it so I could buy an adult movie titled The Women of McDonald's. That's a fun little Easter egg out there, is that somehow, some way, not only does that exist, but someone thought to title it that. You know? Was everything else trademarked and so they just gave up and just threw like a working title at it and left it like that? But yeah, Schedule One is where it's at, guys. Make sure that you check it out. This is a fun game to play with your friends, not children. This is not a fun game for kids. It's a lot of very questionable content goes on in here. Not GTA level stuff, but it's definitely like, hey, Billy, I know you want to learn about marijuana because it's in a lot of the media you talk about, and here's a video game about how to grow it. So this is not really a wise thing to play with kids. The fun thing about this game is that you can get kind of up to the chemistry thing, like Walter White in Breaking Bad, and like make these crazy drugs that change like your race and your hair color. It knocks your hair out, makes your hair long, turns into a woman, makes you invisible. like really crazy Harry Potter potion stuff that you can get up to with these drugs. It's not just like getting your character high and making it difficult to control. It's also like these crazy mixtures you can see right here on screens, crazy mixtures that changed your player character physically, like the complete player character. So I don't know. Just one of those things that I found pretty interesting. Of course, like I said, my favorite YouTubers are the ones running around playing it right now. So it's good stuff, I guess, if you're into that kind of thing. But we do have good news if you are a Tokusatsu fan. We have a Kamen Rider Kuga video game coming out. Not going to play the sound, obviously, but this is, believe it or not, a 3D environment with a shaky cam, because why not, But this is talking about the release of a Kamen Rider Kuga video game. That was a real guy. That was fun. And I think this one's real. Yeah, looks real. But yeah, there's a Kamen Rider Kuga video game coming out. So get used to that. It celebrates the 25th anniversary of Kamen Rider Kuga. I believe it's 25th anniversary of Kamen Rider Kuga. And you'll also have, story modes to play through. You'll have different armors to unlock as shown here. And the best part is that it'll all be in like that weird 60 FPS or maybe 120 FPS at this point. I don't know. But like 60 FPS 4K stuff. So like you probably get to see the suit and the actions and all the rider kicks and rider finishers from Kuga in like detail that was like never brought to life, never brought to theaters, never brought to screen because of the simple limitations of the technology at the time. A lot of Kuga's camera work and stuff like that looks like it's like made with somebody's handy cam. In a lot of cases, it probably was, or like a camera that wasn't too far off from the handy cam and its capabilities, simply because Japan had different standards for television at the time. I think they were shooting in 60 FPS in the early 2000s. I want to say that like Fies was shot in 60 FPS. It was 90s though. But I want to say that Fies was in 60 FPS. It was ridiculous frame rate. It was done with that. It looks so real. It's like a news camera happened upon a Kamen Rider fight. It was such a ridiculous quality, like camera quality, without any of the special lighting, the Marvel lighting that makes everything look so depthy. It was just like a complete wash from the actual sun hitting these armors. And like, that was it. And you had like a news level camera capturing all of that. And it was such a trip watching all of it happen. Of course, the bad CGI, you'd understand. Bad, I wouldn't say bad. Limited CGI had its moments where it brought you out of the story. But currently up to volume 9 of Kamen Rider Kuga. Yeah, well, it's worthwhile. Kuga's story is definitely what helped revitalize the Kamen Rider brand. Kuga is a bit of like an Iron Man character, not necessarily the first, but he's the one who Kuga's the Kamen Rider that introduced what today, in my opinion, what we know a Kamen Rider to be. Revolutionized the franchise, kind of changed the idea of what a Kamen Rider was, not in a huge way, but Kuga really tried to step out of the core idea of a Kamen Rider and deliver something new, and that stuck. That stuck. A lot of the tropes and gimmicks we have today got started with the rebirth with Kuga. So pretty clever, pretty clever. I look forward to it. The bad CGI is what you see at Disney. That was underwhelming. You're right. Underwhelming CGI. You got it. That's right. My bad. This is underwhelming CGI. It was very limited at the time. They were also making 50 episodes of these things for a children's TV show that aired once a week. So, I mean, they're kind of constrained for the time period. And they did a pretty good job in Kuga, which is why I'm kind of interested to see how that live action tokusatsu special effects stuff will come through in this video game environment that is not limited in any way, shape, or form by those same real world limitations, by those same CGI limitations at the time. So it makes me wonder what the original finishers looked like in the mind and storyboards that potentially these game makers are drawing from. Because, between you and me, I'd kind of like to see what these finishers look like with like real CGI environment, responsive physics and geometry and things like that, as opposed to, whoa, he broke the street for 2 frames until we swing the camera around and we don't have the CGI budget to keep the ground broken. And all of a sudden the ground healed up again. It's like, man, the Japanese civil engineers are pretty fast, man. Like those road construction guys are quick. They fixed that road. You wouldn't even know it was broken. Oh, howdy. We have Snape here joining us from the HBO remake. Unfortunately, I'm not bold enough to say that first name, but that is hello, Professor Snape. Welcome aboard. But yeah, this is good news in my opinion. I think that we are fortunate to be able to have a Kamen Rider Kuga game in, I don't know, the year of our Lord 2025. Because of all the things that I expected we would end up with, it was not a Kamen Rider Kuga game. But again, Sentai is also kind of pitching toward the US market now. So we could probably see a few more of these coming through over the years. These older Sentai that don't necessarily appeal to the West, but have sort of a fresh look to them. So they can be marketed independent of that and have a very vast library of stuff to draw on, whereas the new stuff has to kind of hold its cards close to its chest as it's still revealing episodes. Kuga has a complete library, plenty of supporting media to it. So getting people into Kuga is probably easier than getting them into Gav, to be honest with you. And speaking of getting people into things, apparently Assassin's Creed has just ever giving clips of meme moments. Check this out.
I don't want to fight. Come, have some tea instead.
Eliminated. Just like that. Yasuke just eliminates her. They went a little fast, like boink. And he just puts her like 20 feet in the air, and we find out she's completely hollow in there, by the way. There's just some floating legs and arms attached to the dress is what it looks like here. There's no body underneath there whatsoever, because they were like, no, you will not get any upskirt shots, you weird Japanese people. And eliminated. He just punts her like 30 feet. It's crazy. This is an Assassin's Creed, by the way. This isn't a Saints Row game. You know? It's amazing. We are lucky to have woman punters. Say that 5 times fast. We are lucky to have woman punters like Yasuke here to remind Yuki, or whoever that is, where her place is in the world, because God forbid. She only wanted to have tea with him, by the way, and that ended pretty quickly. But so, as we've been talking about on and off on the channel here, and particularly in this stream, we should probably mention that there are new tariffs, these reciprocal tariffs that were announced the other day. And as you know, the world has been kind of spiraling, trying to deal with that. And I don't know, I kind of don't mind these because I know that they're not permanent unless these countries want to make them permanent, and then they will be that way. Vietnam's already stepped forward and said that they want to do a 0% free trade situation. And then Europe has now come out and said that they want to do 0% free trade. But there is a hiccup. Advisors to the Trump administration have come out and said that the Vietnam 0% is just dodging the problem with trade that we have with them. Apparently, Vietnam, along with China, has a problem with intellectual property. That's what part of these tariffs are meant to bring to the table, is force a conversation about. It's what it appears to be, is that yes, 0% trade would be great, but along with that, we want to make sure that when we send things to China and Vietnam for mass production, that they are not cloned and then sent to Temu 10 days later. And that apparently has been a huge problem with production, mass production in Vietnam and China. I assume other places as well that are sporting these very steep increases in tariffs on the US's behalf. as it seems to be that our intellectual property is not protected outside of our borders, and we would like that to be the case. And I think Top Gear did a video about a whole episode about being in China, and they found a BMW and a Mini and some Ford thing that was just one-to-one copied, and they had only changed the nameplate on the thing. And I think BMW was suing China at the time, and of course they lost because China doesn't respect Germany, who produces BMW. Germany's intellectual property rights, so they just cloned the car and slapped a new nameplate on it and said, no, that's a different car, even though it wasn't. And that's what happened, is that it seems to be that when we produce things over in China, they are immediately pulling the plans, designs, material lists necessary to create that device, then walking across the street to another factory, a whole new factory, and building that again. Vietnam appears to be yet another place that has decided to do this as well. And this is what this tariff is. It's a non-tariff cheating, I guess, is what Peter Navarro was talking about. Again, Peter Navarro, take him or leave him. This is the problem that the tariff in Vietnam, at least, is meant to address, especially China as well. The other one is meant to bring these people to the table and say, all right, 0% is great. We want to do that, but we also want protections to make sure that during this 0% trade, your side and our side aren't having their stuff copy and pasted, and thus the people who originally created this stuff getting cut out of the product they created. Derivative technology is perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. We absolutely welcome that, because that's how we end up with the smartphone wars. We would not have these crazy capable phones if iPhone was the only one allowed to make a phone you could touch and play music on, right? So that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to forbade anybody from making a Ford F-150. What we want to do is we want to make sure, we're not trying to forbade anybody from making a pickup truck like the Ford F-150. What we don't want them to do is clone that F-150 and just slap a new name on it. Now, again, you might notice that some of the electric cars coming over look a lot like Range Rovers. They look a lot like Buicks, because those two brands are quite popular in China as outside brands, or they were rather. And now these new domestic brands have successfully cloned those body styles and brought them over with those aesthetics and slapped a new name on them. And so that's where we're kind of doing this from, is that tariffs not only force a renegotiation of the fee to enter the market, if you will, it also forces a renegotiation of what those terms are within that fee, what you're actually paying for with that fee. Now, granted, the nation itself isn't paying that. You and I, the people that buy things from these nations, are paying these things, right? It's not Trump who's writing a check to China to cover all of us. It's not how that goes. What this means is that, like I said before, if you produce a cell phone case that is novel and unique, we don't have to decide what that is, but if you produce a cell phone case that is novel and unique, you should have the right to have it mass produced in a country that says, we will mass produce your thing without it being copied, and either a lesser version of it being put out into the market or a complete one-to-one copy of it being put out into their domestic market, then released into the world global market when they have the ability to produce it on a cheaper level, because they're not concerned with the same quality that you are. And that's a big problem. So that's what we're trying to address here, is like, hey, yeah, we got you to the table now. So in order to proceed with this 0% thing, we have to have legal, lasting guarantees from Vietnam that they're not going to participate in this tech cloning thing that's going on. So are there better ways to make this conversation happen? I don't really think so anymore. Everyone's just got so used to wiping their feet with the United States. We're too busy blowing up the Middle East to care about our trade policies. So people draw back and get comfortable with just wiping their feet on us. I mean, Canada was charging us almost 300% on milk. I get that they have to protect their industry, but shouldn't we? Isn't that a little ridiculous? 300% for your direct neighbor? And that's what it is they go funding their economies and everything off of those kinds of tariffs and the kinds of things that the US goes out and protects. And so that's where these tariffs come through, and they're like, hey, hey man, rent's a little steep to hang out with you guys. And by the way, nobody in Japan is allowed to buy our cars because the tariff to get into that market is too high. Trump was talking about that today during the press conference that, we next to nothing for American cars, new American cars were sold in Japan. Older cars certainly were imported by collectors and things like that. And there were diehards that were interested in having brand new vehicles. But by and large, US cars are not sold by the lot over in Japan. Whereas here, of course we do. We have Toyota lots, Subaru lots, Honda lots, and they don't have anything for US makes unless they're on the used budget or wholesale lot. They're not the new car. They're not the focus feature of those dealerships. And this is what Trump wants to correct. If you're going to be here, we need to be there. Fair is fair. And so that's what all this does. Japan's already on the horn to settle this situation with us with this trade disparity. And I personally believe within a couple of months, 6, I think at the most, we're all going to be down to 0% trading with everybody. We're not going to have these tariffs anymore. It's one of those things where it's a domino. It can go one way or the other. The domino thing can completely fall apart and it could end up walling off whole nations from the US market and likewise, vice versa. Or, as it seems to be going right now, these nations will wake up and say, okay, 0%'s not hurting anybody. Let's do that. Oh, okay. So you want to make sure that our factories aren't stealing your intellectual property? Neat. We're going to make sure that's easy too. So that way we don't do that anymore. We had no idea, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that was even happening. And that's, again, it's one of those things, but we've got to start correcting this mess because we're running into a huge situation where like America is the parking lot for every brand in the world. We just come on in here and sell anything you like. Doesn't matter. We're not even going to penalize you for it because you come from a place that we don't think is equal to us. So we're going to be nice to you because we don't think you're tall enough to ride this ride. That's pretty condescending on our end too, that these people don't have the ability to join our market without us helping them. So I don't know. I'm not interested in playing this one-sided deal with trade. I think everybody ought to be at 0. Makes everything easier. Then your product has the right to fail or succeed on the merits that brought it to the market to begin with. Otherwise, we're choosing winners and losers. And we've seen how that goes. Look at the way the economy was about a year ago at this time. But that's what these tariffs are doing, and that's what Nintendo's looking at. So they put a delay on their production now because these tariffs aren't completely sold with Vietnam. Vietnam got hit with some of the steepest, I believe the second highest. I think Cambodia was the highest. I could be wrong. We'll just check the list real quick right here. I think Cambodia was the highest. Yep. 49% for Cambodia, 46% for Vietnam. So Vietnam, their leader, he said, we'll do 0% with you. And of course we said, whoa, we need to have those kinds of protections. So that 46% is still there. And Nintendo is working a pricing scheme around that 46% because they weren't anticipating that. That's why, a lot of people kind of were blindsided and why the market in Japan is completely collapsing is that a lot of things are produced in Vietnam from Japanese companies. It's not so much China anymore. China, again, has sort of, between political instability as well as its domineering attitude about Taiwan, has kind of made a lot of the Japanese companies a bit nervous, especially with like the youth and like the nation itself kind of being tilted against the Japanese on a personal level, given, the history between those two nations. They've moved to Vietnam and anticipating that to be somehow easier and, less turmoil. 46% tariff kind of destroys that option. So they're looking at kind of facing up to the reality that the Switch 2 could be vastly more expensive, even in the Japanese market, in which it was previously not that expensive because they have to pass those tariffs off to other countries in order to handle the fees that the United States is now hitting them with. So again, this is going to cause forgive the terminology, but Japan treats Vietnam a lot like how the US treated Mexico in the 80s. And maybe in the beginning of the 90s too. It's just kind of like this free place to dump your factories. I find it kind of disgusting because I know that the Japanese don't really look at the Vietnamese as the kind of prestige the Japanese have. I'm not saying there's like a Asian superiority complex about it. It's just the Japanese people and the Vietnamese people, when they coexist in a room together, Japanese people are less likely to uh, see the Vietnamese people as on the same level. You can see that as a racial prejudice, a cultural prejudice, however you like it, but I have seen it. I have seen it explained. I have talked to Japanese people about it. It's just, just Japan and other nations. That's just how they operate. It's fine. It's their culture. But when it comes to interacting for professional purposes, the Vietnamese are very much relegated to like Asian Mexico status. They're just kind of a dumping ground for industrial production. And so this again is going to force manufacturing either back into Japan or to another place that is not receiving these tariffs as heavy as Vietnam, if Vietnam does not capitulate to the US's desire for intellectual property protection. And I'm assuming there are other things they want along with that. That's not just a one issue thing, obviously. So we'll have to wait and see if they buckle to that or not. If not, what actually could end up happening, in my opinion, is that Nintendo might move production to the USA. This might be that these, like they did with the, I think it was the Toyota Camry and that Toyota T100. I think it might have been T100, the original Toyota truck, if you will, the one that Marty spun around there at the end of Back to the Future. Those things came to the United States pre-assembled, unassembled. They were in different parts and then they were assembled in the United States. So rather than having all the parts of the Switch 2 assembled in the United States, in order to get around these tariffs, they may have most of the parts produced in China and Vietnam, then shipped to the United States, then assembled. This way they're around the heaviest hitters of the tariffs, whereas the tariffs are still hitting those smaller products with a lower price point that the tariffs would be targeting. So once again, there's ways around it, but in my opinion, I'd really like to see Nintendo open up a manufacturing hub here in the United States. That would be really cool to see kids running around saying, my dad works for Nintendo and he's totally going to like fight your dad who works at Sony. That'd be great. That'd be fun. But yeah, they, again, like Dalao says here, they better do it in modules. And yeah, it's okay. It is what it is. They're going to break it up. Obviously, they're not going to have the whole thing produced here. We are having the Arizona company that's sprouting up here to do superconductor chips, but that's not all that they need to make the Nintendo Switch 2. There's a lot of other things the United States is sort of betwixt when it comes to just basic labor. We have the assets, the materials, access to getting the materials to make everything the Switch 2 is made of, if you will. But our labor sets the cost of production way too high. So we have a lot of things to fix on that front before we can make these things from the ground up, if you will. At least in the intended quality. We might be able to do a Switch Lite here, but I kind of go back and forth on that one too. Like that Switch Lite's going to cost as much as the regular Switch. So, Switch 2 rather. So it's one of those questions. It's not going to be answered for another few months. Like I said, about 6 months into this, it's going to solidify into who's coming home to produce and who's not. And right now, Nintendo is kind of crossing their fingers that this whole Vietnam thing gets absolved. But if it doesn't, I don't know. We might end up seeing Nintendo factories in the United States. We might end up seeing Nintendo factories back in Japan producing regular old Nintendo Switches, not this prestige stuff. Like they may have to go back to hiring Hoshi, getting Hoshi back to work. Poor Hoshi gets blamed for everything. Anyway. Yeah. Well, it's not barely use a screwdriver. Like there's a lot of what you see on TikTok are people that are sensational and they're truly an idiot. Yeah, truly. And that's why they get around. Is that our TikTok sort of enshrines people who are they belong in meme compilations. They belong in like don't you laugh you lose compilations, but instead they become like national heroes because of the way that media saturation works with these people, is they look like rebels, even though they're like people with room temperature IQ. Like, look at Logan Paul. Like, I'm pretty sure that guy's completely useless in the event of a flat tire, or that he needs to change the oil on his own vehicle. If there's anything more than like jumping around and posing and looking tough, he's probably kind of out of his zone. It doesn't strike me as a type that's like a crypto bro. You know what I mean? He doesn't strike me as one of those either. He's just kind of like, he's got one gear, Logan Paul. You know what I mean? And that's the people you see popularized. That's who becomes the American identity. Whereas like, Jimmy and Sally, they get along okay. They probably don't know how to change their tires either. That's mostly the school system that blames that, but they do understand how the technology works because they have to. Most people understand that the phone that they hold in their hands is made up of several different components. They don't really necessarily know the names of those things. They don't know what a superconductor is. They just understand that there's certain parts of that are not made in the USA, that kind of stuff. So up here in Maine, we have people doing circuit boards, regular old Mainers. And I grew up with people that didn't really learn how to read. They just kind of like passed the test by copying off the guy next to him. So it's not difficult to get a job doing this repetitive kind of work that produces this technology. It's the people that work in the conceptual offices and the coding offices that are really the ones that have to have like the doctorates and things like that. But your white collar guys, your blue collar guys can get along pretty well producing this high-end technology by just doing rudimentary activities like running a soldering iron or verifying the chip quality under a microscope. And again, like, you're not like knowing what that pattern is. You have like correct on the left and incorrect on the right, and you compare the image in the middle of the actual product in front of you that you're meant to investigate. And so it's a much easier process than knowing exactly how that chip's supposed to look. So again, like, the cost of labor is just so dang high that I just don't see it coming back immediately. We've got to fix the dollar. We've really got to fix the dollar. You need to be able to use a single dollar bill to get through most of your day. I'm not even trying to be funny to you. I'm not trying to be ridiculous with you. That was not a long time ago. My father was born in 1929, and he told me that when he was growing up, he would work 7 days a week and only bring home 50 cents. But that 50 cents allowed that family to live for a whole 7 days. A whole 7 days. That was 7 kids to feed that he was coming. He was the eldest of 8 kids, and he was to come home from working the farms and the rail yard with 50 whole cents. And that fed and clothed, heated, and kept safe his family for 7 days during the Depression. So you need to be able to walk around and use a single dollar bill to get through most of your day. That needs to happen. You need to be able to buy a cup of coffee for 10 cents. You need to be able to fill up your car for like 50 cents. Really, I know that sounds ridiculous. I know that sounds absolutely nutso, crazy, impossible. But that needs to be the goal. That way, if we miss it, we've at least chased the cost of living down to $3 a day to get through most of your day, down to $5 a day to get through most of your day, down to $10 to get through most of your day. You imagine? Can you imagine a world where you're only spending good old Abe Lincoln on a whole day, a $5? That's all you got to do? See, that's the goal here, I believe, is where we're looking into all this, is that we're pushing toward creating an America where the dollar matters again, where the buying power of America is restored, the production power of America is restored, and most importantly, Americans themselves are emboldened to be innovative again, because we are no longer servicing the economies of the world through tariffs and certain stupid regulations that allow them to exploit us without us having the ability to even enter their markets. So that's just where I come from, is that I'm seeing the writing on the wall. It's very difficult. It's like peeling off a Band-Aid, if you will. It's going to hurt, especially if that Band-Aid's been on for a while. It's picking off a scab. It's going to hurt, but it won't kill us. I don't think it's going to come anywhere near killing us. Like I said earlier, it's going to end up bringing down tariffs to zero around the world. We will have true free trade between the nations. which again will come with strong regulations that protect individual companies and individual investors, individual creators that are engaging in that market. And it'll bring home production back here to the United States very, very slowly. There is not going to be a massive rush because of the cost of labor in the US. You can train people to do most things. There, like I said, there's people on TikTok that are extreme cases that are complete lunkheads. But most folks are willing to pick up a trade and can. They just have not had the motivation to do so because, well, when you look around at the world and you ask your average fella on the street, your average dude on the street, he doesn't have a lot of hope in his heart. He doesn't have a lot of upward mobility available to him. So he doesn't see the motivation in bringing his ideas to the marketplace because by all vectors that he can measure, there is no place for him to enter in a way that's fruitful, that will not cost him time, years of his life and suffering. It seems romantic, right? Oh, yes, it took me 10 years to get my business off the ground. But look around you. Do you think anybody can take 10 years trying to get a business off the ground right now? No. You bring the cost of living down, though, down to where you could spend a $5 bill on your day. Well, guess what? All of a sudden, it's not so impossible to take 10 years to get your business off the ground. It's actually not that hard at all, so that more people start opening up their mom and pop shops and these crazy concrete jungles that we've been building into shopping centers. You know, your Uber Duber, have your baby here, get your tires changed at the same time, Walmart, you know, those things. We could start beating those back with these smaller businesses that meet the demands of their local areas or these niche markets that Walmart has not really been filling, kind of like been filling peanut butter into your car seat, if you will, when you're really only looking for a car seat cover, so you don't get peanut butter into the seams of your seat, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, the flowchart style of any human can is killing the industry. I'm not sure what that means. I thought I did. Now I don't. Sorry. Yeah, the green bills matter, and they will. They will, again, because, like, I don't think Trump's done either, because we've got to get the dollar off of being based on how it's trading. That was the stupidest thing. If I had a time machine, I'd go back and slap Nixon in his flappity jowls. I'd let him know that was the dumbest thing you could possibly have done. And I'm a guy that is with Werner von Braun on fuck the shuttle. Fuck the shuttle. That was the stupidest thing that NASA could have ever done. It was a deliberate effort to hamstring any effort to get to Mars. All right? So when I tell you that leaving the gold standard was a bigger mistake than throwing Mars to the wind, okay? We were supposed to be on Mars by 1995. Werner von Braun had a plan to get us there, and Nixon was like, nah, we're going to build a taxi to orbit. Okay? So when I tell you that leaving the gold standard was a bigger mistake than that, that's a pretty big mistake, okay? That is a pretty big mistake. So, waist deep, I'm in it, and 4 dudes short on my crew. Oh, okay. Well, long day, man. Yeah, they run the machine. They don't care. The kids are going to be all right. Yeah. Well, again, like the young men are really the biggest thing that we can focus on. Because again, like young women are in a different headspace than most young men. And what I find with a lot of the young men that I'm talking to is they just simply don't have a drive. They don't have a drive to participate. And if you can get them interested in participating without forcing them, without putting them in a wheelbarrow and dumping them into a career, you're going to end up reforming the women with it. Is that it's not so much that women go with men and men go with women. It's that a lot of the time good vibes attract good times. You know what I mean? So you get guys in a good mood, you get them confident, you get them productive, you get them feeling a purpose in their life again beyond getting the high score or good views on YouTube. And then all of a sudden, right? Then all of a sudden, the women take interest in them because something's happening around these guys. Not that these guys are boring otherwise, it's just that things that are communicable to the average woman are now coming out of this guy that didn't have hope and motivation before. And so that's what we're aiming to do. That's what we're trying to create here with all this tariff work, with all this economic upheaval, with all this shift. It's really at the core to give these Zoomers and alphas and late millennials a chance, a literal chance, not even the chance that I had, just a fragment of a teeny tiny chance. Because right now they're at -0. There is absolutely nothing on the horizon for these young men to look forward to at this very moment. Yes, the taxation relief is great. Yes, the energy relief is great. Yes, having less responsibility for like food prices is great. But at the end of the day, none of this is an incentive to get young men off the couch and building new lives because there's no security in any of these changes. There has to be a foot forward that holds the door open to let these guys take a risk. They simply have been taught and have observed that anytime you get out of line, you get obliterated. And that's what the importance of all this is that it's literally Trump sticking his foot in the door of trade and saying, hold on, I have 2 generations coming through. Don't close that elevator door. And I appreciate it. It may not be on the surface. And again, like I'm looking at this as like someone who's very concerned with the youth. I spend a lot of my time engaging with youth media and trying to produce a lot of it. So I pay attention to what's going on the ground with these guys and gals, and they are like up here, they want a high-speed rail because they can't afford cars and they don't see a pathway to where that's going to change. So they want to have a high-speed rail system come in so that they can travel to the major trading hubs within the state, the major cities within my state, from either their rural communities or not so major cities, because they don't have cars and they don't in their mind, they don't see that changing within the next 10 years. I can't explain the level of disillusion, broken heart, hopelessness you have to be to where you honestly tell yourself that you're not going to be able to buy a car in 10 years. For 10 years, you're going to have to go carless, maybe more. These kids told me that it's 10 years before they think they could be able to afford a car. And they're like 25, 22, 25, 27, I think was the oldest one I talked to. And they can't afford cars. They don't even have like the decades. It's going to take a decade for them to be able to afford a car. All right. Well, that's my cue. Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to end the stream here. Mike's fucked up again. Gotta love it. Good night. Good luck out there. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry about this. Adios.